Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Montessori Family Alliance webcast. This is Lorna McGrath. I'd like to welcome you all today and say that we're glad you're here. If this is your first time joining us, then we'd love to hear from you. So you will see on the right-hand side of your screen, there's a box where you can ask questions or make comments or add thoughts and ideas, and we will answer them as we go. There's also usually a handout so that you can download, and I believe that that is on. So if you would like to download that and take notes or have it for later on, remind you of what we've said today, you're welcome to do that as well. For those of you who join us on a regular basis, welcome back, and feel free to write down your questions or comments as well. As members of the Montessori Family Alliance, you will receive access to a recorded version of today's webcast on the Alliance webpage, the Resource Center. This is Lorna McGrath again, as I said, and I am with you today to share about birthdays and the Montessori way, and I believe Tim Selden may pop in every now and again as we go along. Tim, you're there
Lorna.
in Texas?
How are you? I'm here.
Very well. Well, we're glad you're with us today. Well, Tim.
So I love birthdays. Birthdays are good.
I do too. And you know, it made me think of it because actually today is my birthday. So so I thought this would be totally appropriate for us to do today.
I forgot this is your birthday, Lorna. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much, Tim. All right.
I'm sure everyone will jump in and wish you happy birthday. There you go. Rachel's just jumped in.
Wonderful. I hope everyone can see the screen and hear me. So you might want to check that, Tim, as well. So birthday celebrations the Montessori way. Let's take a look. One of the things that we do in Montessori is we celebrate birthdays as a child's personal history. It's actually because we start with children that are so very young, it's really their first history lesson. And as with all other things in Montessori, we try to start from the concrete and go to the abstract. And as you all know, time is totally, totally abstract, especially for little children. They have no idea what today, tomorrow, next week, an hour from now, they have no idea what any of that means. And so we often, not in every Montessori school, but in many, many Montessori schools, they have a special celebration that celebrates the child's birthday and also gives them a sense of personal history. So let's take a look at that. You can see in this slide, there's a little girl who's holding, that is a globe, by the way, that they probably either made or they had that globe in their classroom. Sometimes they use the land and water or the continent globes that come from the geography section. The particular celebration or tradition in this school is that they place a candle in the center of the circle. And the candle is lit. Often it sits on a plate that looks like a sun. And they talk to the children about that the candle represents the sun and the globe represents the earth. And that it takes the globe, the earth, 1 year to go all the way around the sun one time. And so for each year that a child is old, the earth has gone around the sun one time. So the birthday child gets to walk around the circle, however many times they are old. So if they're 4, this little one looks like she's about 3. So she would walk around 3 times and do the birthday walk. And as she's walking, what we've done in preparation for this is we talk to the parents ahead of time, and we ask them to send in a picture or a photograph from each year of the child's life. And they can make a poster if they want, or they can just send in pictures. And usually we invite the parents to come for the birthday walk, and they can tell the child's story and show the pictures, or the teacher can do it if the parent can't be there. And so as the child walks around, the the story told. During Ellen's first year of life, she learned many, many things. She learned to crawl and to walk and to babble, and they'll talk about different things. If there was something really important that happened that first year in the family, maybe they'll mention that. So then, and they'll say when she gets around, and then she was 1 year old, and during her second year, and they'll go on with that. So that's a tradition in many Montessori schools, and the children look forward to the birthday walks and the stories and the photos of the children. You'll notice in the of the right-hand side of this slide, there's a timeline. And that's another sort of tradition that we tend to do in Montessori school, is we'll create some sort of a timeline. This particular teacher used the sandpaper numerals to note the years, and then there was one photograph put above each one of the years for this child so that they could see the photographs in there. There are other kinds of timelines that children can do. As they get older, they certainly can make their own, but this was one that was made in a Montessori school, and what each child got their little birthday book or their timeline, and were put into a basket so that the children could look at those throughout the year. They could look at their friends' timeline book, they could look at their own timeline book. It's just a nice addition in the classroom. And notice in this one, they just took a piece of paper and put the year, put a picture, a photo of that year, and then on up through. And these could be used at the birthday walk as well. So those are some timelines and some traditions. As children get older in Montessori school, Tim, you'll have to help me out with this one, I think. Michael Dorr, I went to a workshop of his one time, and he had a very special birthday celebration that they did in his Montessori school for elementary age children. And it was a little bit more sophisticated. It had a very wonderful story that went along with it, and it was something about rice and giving rice out or getting rice in. And do you know that story, Tim?
No, Lorna, I don't know that I recall that one from Michael's school. I have to ask him tomorrow.
I think so, because I would love to have that, and it was such a beautiful ceremony, and I didn't write it down, of course. So, but there are many things that people do in Montessori schools, and it might be slightly different in a older in the elementary years than it is in the early childhood years.
I think the big
and here's another picture.
I think the big thing is that.
Go ahead.
I think the big thing is the variation of the child as he or she grows older, not only receiving love and having a meal that's festive with the family and friends and receiving some presents, but also the idea of some kind of rite of passage, or of the child making a difference in the world, of doing something to mark the anniversary by doing an act of kindness or generosity to some cause or somebody.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that we did for a while at the school was when the birthday child had their birthday, not only did they get the good wishes and the happy birthdays and all from their friends and their teachers and so forth, usually the birthday child would actually give a book. They would go to the bookstore with their parents and buy a new book for their classroom library or for the school library, and that was kind of a nice give back to the school for doing what they do. So that was absolutely something that you could add in if you wanted to. There are other things in this birthday walk tradition also. Many schools, once the walk is done, then they sing happy birthday. We used to do a special little thing called the birthday hop, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We'll save that on. But the school can embellish on the walk with whatever other thing that they would like to do. There's usually no individual snack that day. Usually they have snack together on the birthday celebration day, and we ask that the snacks be nutritional and and good for them, but also fun. So it might be blueberry muffins or banana bread, and it might even be something that the child has helped to make for his friends or her friends at home and brings it in for the birthday treat. So that's a nice tradition as well to share that with their friends. Let's go to the next one. My computer, oh, there it is. Sometimes there's a special book or story that goes with the birthday celebration. Oh, gracious. Here we go. Let's go back. Sorry about that. My computer was a little slow and it was thinking. There we go. Here we are. Just put up a slide of this book. It doesn't have to be this book, but this is one of my favorites. It's a birthday book, and it's on the day you were born. It's a beautifully illustrated book, and it talks about the earth, the family, the creatures on earth, the universe, celebrating the arrival of a new baby and welcoming the baby to the earth and to life. And we would read it for each child on their birthday right after their birthday walk. I'm sure there are other wonderful birthday books or a birthday book for your journal that you start when it's their first birthday, or you start on the day they were born, and you add things to it at first, and then maybe each year as the celebration happens and pictures are taken, you create a birthday book for your child, and then they can help to create it as well as they get older. I think as we think about birthday celebrations, it's a good idea to ask some questions. The first is, why do we celebrate birthdays? What is the importance of it? What is our motivation behind it? As adults, is the celebration about a good excuse for us to have a party and invite lots of friends and family? So it's more about us than the child, especially when they're really little. Because, quite frankly, a 1-year-old is not going to remember their first birthday. They may see photos of it, they may have recordings of it somehow, but they're really not going to remember it. So what's the purpose of the celebration? Who benefits from it? Why are we doing this? And that sort of thing probably ought to be thought about as we think about birthdays. I like to think about this question: what would my child enjoy? So as they get a little bit older and really begin to be part of the birthday celebration, I want to ask myself, what would my child enjoy doing on his or her birthday? And even asking, what would you like to do? Would you like to, and you may want to, kind of put some parameters on what would you like to do. You might give them a choice. Would you like to go to the beach, or would you like to stay home and have a few friends over and do a pool party? So you want to maybe give them limited choice so we don't come up with things that couldn't really be done or that you really didn't buy into and that sort of thing. But certainly they can be part of the choosing and the planning and all of that. It gets to be really fun as they get a little bit older. And then the next question is, who will we invite? Is this a family birthday? Is this a friend's birthday, birthday with friends, and maybe a few family, or just a birthday with friends, that sort of thing? And where are we going to have this birthday celebration? Is it going to be at home? Is it going to be at a park? What will be the venue where we will have this birthday celebration? And then, how many people do we really want to invite to a birthday for a 2-year-old? Or a birthday for a 16-year-old. What do they want? By the time they're 16, what do they want? And again, it has to be something that you are okay with, that you don't disagree about. And then I think an important piece is, what's the cost? That's a factor for many of us. And I think that sometimes we get into a thing about that we have to do it like somebody else does, and somebody else had a big birthday party and had it catered and this and that and the other, and it's like birthdays are a celebration of a person's life, doesn't have to cost a lot of money, and it doesn't have to be really outrageously fancy. What it needs to be is something from the heart, because that's what the birthday is about, the heart. So, and the recognition of this person who has come into the world and will make a difference. At home celebrations, I highly recommend that when a child is very young, certainly during the infant toddler stage, that you have at home celebrations with family and maybe some family friends with whatever kinds of wonderful, yummy foods you would like. As you can see there, they're both celebrating and having a good time. But it's usually, I would say it's a great idea to have that birthday at home and just have it be a nice celebration of people who love the child and who the child loves. It's important for them. As you go along, you'll be beginning some traditions, some things that you find are fun and the child likes, and they are family traditions. So on this page, you can see there are two very tall candles on either side of the picture, the photo. And in the photo, you will also see that there is a big candle on the table that's lit. For both of our children, for each of our children, we had a birthday candle, and they were like these big candles that you see on the screen, and they went from 1-year-old to 21, and we dragged those candles out every birthday, and that was a tradition for our family. If we didn't have that candle out, there was something wrong. Where's the candle? When are you going to light the candle? That kind of thing. So that was one of our traditions. Sometimes it's a song. A tradition could be a song. I remember, it's interesting, my dad actually had a stroke when he was 70 years old, and most of his language was gone. He couldn't speak very well. He had a few words that he could say, but he could sing. And so every year, and I was an adult, by the way, because he was 70, every year on my birthday, he and my mother would call me up, and my mother would on the phone, and she'd say, "Okay, Erwin, let's sing happy birthday to Lorna." And he would sing happy birthday, and it was pretty darn good, and it was about all that he could do. And so sometimes songs are really important because they're in a different part of the brain than the music part is different than the language part, and so it can be a wonderful tradition that you can look forward to. And I did always look forward to Dad singing happy birthday in those years. Another tradition could be something like a birthday hop. The birthday hop for us at school was the two teachers would hold hands. They would stand facing each other and hold hands and make sort of a seat for the child. And the birthday child, now remember these are 3 to 6-year-olds, so they're not very heavy. And the child would sit in that sort of cradle, and the teachers lift the child up into the air and then bring them back down, and they would do that however many years old the child was. So if they were 3 years old, they got 3 what we call birthday hops. You might have something fun like that you might just want to do, that the child just thinks is very fun and that they look forward to as the birthday comes around each year. And of course, it wouldn't be a birthday without some kind of a special dessert or a special food. I remember when my kids were little, we always did what was it? Oh gosh, a pound cake. We always did a pound cake, and we always had fresh strawberries, that we cut up and put a little sugar on so it made a syrup, and we would have that for their special birthday treat. And they looked forward to that, and they knew that that was going to be their birthday treat. I know my husband loved spice cake, so that's what we would always make for him, was a spice cake. And you probably have things that you and your family love, or that have learned to love or will learn to love that is a special food for your birthday celebrations. If you have any comments or questions or thoughts, please do share them. Tim will let me know if anything pops up. My question part isn't working today. Let's look at some of the things that you can do for these birthday celebrations. one thing that you could do is especially when you're having a celebration at home, you might want to do something like an arts and crafts type activity that you have ready for the children to do. Obviously, these would be children 8 years old and older, and so maybe there was a painting activity or a coloring activity, or if you wanted to go outside in the driveway, maybe you would have the kids do chalk pictures on the driveway. Depends on what you want to do, but those would be sort of fun activities, and you can think of many, many more to do with children. Sometimes you just want to do more active type things, and I'm going to go back one. There we go. These are just some examples of some of the things you might want to do. And again, it might be family, it might be family and maybe one or two friends. You could take your child for a horseback riding time, or you could go to the pumpkin patch. And it depends on your weather, your climate, what time of year the birthday is in. Up in the right-hand corner, there's a very small snowman. I hope you can see it. It was not a lot of snow that year, and so the snowman had to be tiny, but it was okay. It was a great snowman. Down in the bottom left corner is Grandpa with a birthday boy, and they're planting some food for the family to use later on as the summer comes along. If you live if your child's birthday is in the summer, or you live in a warm climate, you might go to the beach for a birthday celebration. Certainly, if it gets cold, there's always ice skating or sledding or things like that. State parks are a wonderful thing to do. Up in the right corner, that's at a state park, and take a couple of friends and maybe have a picnic and enjoy a day outside in the fresh air. Roller skating, if you're not into ice skating or you don't have any ice around, maybe you'll do some roller skating on a party day. Or down in the right-hand corner, you've got some boys who have, certainly with supervision, have a campfire going and are roasting marshmallows so they can make some s'mores. All of those are fun things to do. As your children get into the teen years and the elementary years, birthday parties will probably change a bit. More friends, but it doesn't have to be, oh, this is one thing I want to say. You know, your child is in a class of maybe anywhere from 20 to 30 kids in a class, maybe more. You don't have to invite the entire class to a birthday party. Hopefully, children are respectful to each other. Please don't send invitations to the school for the teachers to hand out to people. That makes it very difficult, and it can be hurtful. Send your invitations, if you're going to have friends to a birthday party, send them in the mail, or send them in an email, or send them some way that the teachers certainly are not responsible for handing those out. But don't feel that you have to have a party that's so big that you have to be able to provide for 30 children. Your children will have close friends, and those are the people that they will want to invite to their birthday parties. And so it can be 2 or 3 or 4 friends and have a great time and a wonderful thing. Going to local sort of parks or some type of entertainment, like a Busch Gardens or someplace like that, certainly. It doesn't have to be a big park like a Disney World, because that's a very expensive type of trip to do with children. So it could be, more of a local type activity. You can, in the elementary years and even sometimes in the teen years, children like to do sleepovers. And so the thing that you can add into the mix as the children get older is have a friendly little sleepover. And down in the bottom right, that's some girls that are probably, I would guess they're in their upper elementary years, and just a couple of friends going to a restaurant that with type of food that their child likes can be lots of fun for a child in those elementary ceremonies earlier on as we were talking. And one of the things that we did with my son back when he turned, I think it was when he turned 13, when he was going into high school, we did a rite of passage ceremony that wasn't really connected with any particular religion or anything like that. It was just a celebration of him moving from childhood into adolescence, and we invited some family members, and he invited a couple of teachers actually that he really cared about and had been a big part of his life and that he wanted to have at his ceremony. We had a script that my friend Catherine Coles, who's the author of Redirecting Children's Behavior, had a ceremony written out with sort of a script to it. Brendan, I remember, wrote part of this ceremony was that he wrote a little essay, if you will, which talked about what he had learned so far in his life and who he was grateful for and why, and a little bit about what his thoughts were about the world and the future. And he read that as part of the ceremony. It was actually quite moving, and I think it was very important to him as well as to us and to our family. I know that right around 6th grade or so in the Christian church there is confirmation into the church. Certainly the same kind of same time in a child's life, a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah for boys and girls that are Jewish, and of course is their rite of passage to the next part of their lives. And then sometimes we celebrate in terms of age and things, a child's moving into a new level of education. So when a child passes from the primary years into the elementary years, sometimes there's a sort of a celebration of that, or from the elementary years into secondary years. That's another benchmark or rite of passage, and it's usually has something to do with their age. So that's why I'm putting it in here with birthday celebrations, because it does usually happen when they become a certain age or certain level. You'll find those occasions in your own families that you'll want to celebrate with your child and with your family and with their friends. Certainly certainly there are other big life occasions that come along depending on your culture and your religion and your belief system. So whether you are young or old, birthdays are lots of fun and great to be celebrated with friends and family, and there are wonderful ways to do that. And so keep that tradition going and add things to it. I really like the idea of the birthday journal. It reminds me of what we used to do for family vacations. Every family vacation we went on, we had a vacation or a travel journal, and we would add photos to it, and each day that we were on the vacation we would write in it, and each person in the family wrote in it and mentioned what it was we did and what that meant to them. And certainly you could do that for children as a birthday journal, and it could be an ongoing type of scrapbook type thing or something like that. So young and old, no matter what, birthdays are fun. Tim, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that today?
No, I think you've covered this really, really well, Lorna. I love the pictures of your children when they were young, and your husband's father there in that picture. And is that young person on the left, by any chance, your son?
No, I think it's actually Ellen. I think it's my daughter.
Oh, there
it's
you
hard
go.
to tell. They looked a lot alike when they were babies.
Well,
and that's
having
my
been your friend for a
father-in-law.
long time, it's really cute looking at these old pictures.
I had fun putting them together, I have to say. I did go down memory lane a little bit here. So I hope all of you got some ideas and thoughts, and we'll check in with Michael Dorr and see if we can learn about the birthday celebration that he does for elementary students, because it was a beautiful one. And so I want to